room. It's Mr. Grunman. How's everybody doing? We are going to do today, we're going to do a project on op art, which is optical illusion. So the OP stands for optical. And this is a project that I do with my fifth graders. And actually I'm doing this now with the middle schoolers that I'm teaching virtually. So I am going to put this on my channel and you guys can check it out. And let's get started. So I've cut a piece of paper that is 9 inches by 9 inches. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a ruler, and I want you all to do this as well. And we're going to make a grid. So we're going to, it's going to look like this. I'll show you what the finished product is going to look like. It's going to look something like this. So I've got this one standing by because I've done all the coloring and shading in first, but I wanted to show you the process. So I'm going to make an 8-inch by 8-inch grid. So since this is a 9-inch piece of paper, I am going to make a line about a 1/2 inch away from the edge. And I'm just going to start it at the 0. I'm going to go all the way over to the 8-inch line. And then I'm going to bring it down just a little tiny bit, and I'm going to put a little tick mark at each inch. 4, 3, 2, 1. This is a good exercise for learning how to read a ruler as well. So then I'm going to go ahead and put this on the 8-inch there on this side, line it up perfectly parallel to the side of the paper, so you're going to have a perfect square. Hold it down real tight and make the second line. Again, bring it a little bit away from that line and just make a little mark on each of the inch lines. Okay, because we're going to need those lines for reference later. You're going to do it on the third side. That looks pretty good. All the way down to the 8. Again, I'm going to bring it a little bit away from there, away from my line, so I can see where I'm putting these little marks at each of the inch marks. And then the last one more. So I know that this and this ends of those lines are in the right place. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that right where it needs to be. Hold it down tight. Make that last line. And this one, I don't have to move the ruler. I can just put these little marks right where they belong. 3, 2, 1. All right. So the fourth one, the middle mark, that's gonna end up being a straight line. So we're just gonna connect that all the way across, straight. And the 4th inch line going horizontally, we're gonna do the same thing. Hold it down tight and make a straight line. Now the other lines aren't gonna be straight, but now we need to draw this circle to make it look like there's a sphere coming out of the checkerboard pattern. This is part of the op art. Again, I said op stands for optical illusion. One of the fathers of the op art craze or movement in the 1950s was a guy named Victor Vasarely. So if you look up Victor Vasarely, you'll learn a lot. Actually, before I do that circle, I want to do a 6-inch circle. So if I can do some more straight lines on the 7th inch mark here, and the 1st inch mark here, I'm going to line up my ruler real straight with these little tick marks that I put there. And same thing with the top and bottom. So line it up, real nice. It's very important to try to be as precise as possible with this project because these lines are very geometric. They're very straight lines and square. That means everything's a 90-degree angle if it's square. All right, so now, since this is 8 inches wide, and this is minus 1 inch, minus another inch, 2 inches, that means this is going to be a 6-inch circle. So if I set it to 1, 2, 3 inches, that should give me, if I hold this down right in the middle, it should get it right on the edge. And I'm just going to double, triple check all the way around. And it looks like it's pretty good. And I'm going to go ahead and just go ahead and scribe with that pencil the circle. Perfect. Okay, so now comes the trickiest part. Well, actually, this isn't so tricky, but you're going to hold it down on the other marks so that we're making squares, but we're going to stop when we get to the circle. That's why I put this circle in there at this time. And then we're going to go down the line here. And I'm going to try to do it a little faster. Stop at the circle, start at the circle. Next one's over here. Get it lined up. Stop at the circle, come down here, start at the circle. Same thing here, this way, and that way. So I've got them all. I'm just going to work my way up the horizontal lines. Again, right to the circle. Right to the circle. You got to be careful and precise with every mark you do, because if you accidentally, especially if you're working with the Sharpie, if you accidentally go into that circle, it's not going to look good at the end. You'll have a little mistake. Mistakes happen, so it's not a big deal. I don't want you to start all over if you make one little tiny mistake. But you got to be careful the whole way through. So now we've got a grid here, but we don't have this grid inside this sphere. And again, I'm going to just keep flashing back to this one. You can see that the straight lines go all the way through like that. That's those straight lines. But then we have to make some curved lines to make it look more like a sphere. Okay, so we're going to curve those other lines. So we want to make this curved line about almost to come out to this line here. So we're going to start it where this line meets the, but we're going to come out, and I'm going to give myself a little reference point right there. And that is approximately 1 3/4 inches. So I'm just going to like make a little mark there. That's where I want to do that. So I'm going to do that on all 4 of these intersection lines here. I'm just going to put it at 1 3/4. Like I said, this is a good exercise for reading a ruler correctly. So now my lines are going to start here, they're going to come out to that mark, and then come down to that mark. So it's a little arch. Best way to do this, because your wrist has a natural pivot point for making an arch, is to hold your paper just like I'm doing, and maybe practice once too. And you can do it with pencil if you're not confident to do it right away. Then I'm just going to rotate my paper, because then my wrist is in the right position every time. I missed it, but that's okay. Start here, end here, go through that. Again, if you do it in pencil first, you might have better luck, because if you make a mistake, then you can just erase it. But I'm going to trust myself here. I'm going to practice, and then I'm going to go ahead and do it. And then we've got another area that we have to go, and this way we're only going to go a little bit away from the end. So I'm going to make a little mark, about 1 centimeter away on all 4 sides. And we're going to start here at this next line, the second line, and we're going to end it here. So you got to kind of remember where you're going. And you go, and this stays pretty close to the edge. And then I'm going to rotate it. Again, following the arch of my wrist. Okay. The next one. And the last one. Boom. All right, so that's good. So now I'm going to start coloring these in, shading these in. So I'm going to use my Sharpie because I want this to be a nice black and white. And the best way to do it is to kind of get a little bit of a border here. I like to point the tip of the Sharpie at the target of the line that I'm trying to keep it inside. So I'll move around. I like to outline it first just to give me a little thicker. This one I'm going to do backwards, but I'll be careful. I like to make a little border so I have some leeway, and then I like to color it in using kind of a circular technique like this. Now, because I have that extra one that I did earlier, I am going to go and switch over to that because this does take some time. There's quite a few squares and shapes that we have to fill in. So you're going to do it in a diagonal pattern. Think of a checkerboard. So the next one that I would do would be diagonal to this. So I would pick this. And don't bounce around. Don't go over here and say, oh, I'll do this one. Because you want to stick to the ones that are right next to it. Otherwise, you can get confused and you can do the wrong one and then it won't look good at all. Because you'll have, two black squares in a row like next to each other, and then that won't be good. So you gotta do this carefully and precisely. If you take a look at Victor Vasarely's paintings that he did, they're super precise. And they look amazing. They're really optical illusions. And an optical illusion is just making something, well, this is a two-dimensional piece of paper. It's flat, and we're trying to make it look three-dimensional, so that's an optical illusion. Of course, that's the same with most art. You try to make it look three-dimensional by using shading and techniques like that. So if I were to keep going, I would do all of these squares, and the one that's connected, here's the outside square. See how it's in a diagonal with the next one? It's touching right at the corner only. That's the one I want to do. And then this square that's flat, I'm also going to do, but I'm going to leave just a tiny, tiny sliver of white in between there. I don't know if you can see that, but I was really careful to do that. And again, I'm going to do it this way, so I don't go out of that line. Color that in real nice. And then I would do this one and this one, and I would do this one and this one and this one and this one. And again, it takes some time. So I am going to go ahead and fast forward. Boom. And I've left one more to do, so I wanted to kind of show you that technique again. Outline, 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 and outline, and then fill it in nice and neat. These Sharpies work so good because they really don't, minimally they leave like streaks. They're pretty good at covering it up perfectly. So in order to make this look even better than this, what we're going to do is we're going to add some shading to it. So we're going to create a shadow down here, basically in this area underneath. And I've got myself an ebony pencil, which is a little darker than and a little softer than a regular pencil. So I'm going to do it dark underneath the sphere here. And I'm going to have it come in kind of an oval pattern like this. All the way to the edge. And over here on this side like this. So it's darker. It's the darkest right underneath, and then it gets a little bit lighter as it goes out towards the edges. So right here, right at the sphere, that's going to be pretty dark. So I'm pressing down quite heavy. And that's right under the sphere right there, so it's going to be darker. Shadow's going to be darker. Even shade on the black pieces, because it'll look more like a shadow there. And then we're easing up on the pressure a little bit as we go out, so now I'm a little bit lighter here. So dark, and then it's getting medium, and then now I'm going to ease up on the pressure, and it's a little bit lighter towards the edges. Like I said, do that all the way in a little kind of an oval or egg shape down there. And we're also going to add some shadowing underneath here, but again, I'm not going to do this as dark. I'm really kind of easing up on the pressure of this. It's a little lighter than this under shadow. This is the dark one. In fact, I'm going to try to make that even darker down here. And then this one's a little bit lighter. So it looks like it's in the sphere. But we're not going to do any shadowing up there. Now, in order to blend these lines a little bit better, you can use a blending stick, or you can put some tissue paper or a towel or something around your finger, and you can blend it. You don't want to use your finger because the oils of your finger will get on the paper, and then it doesn't look as good. So this is a blending stick. It's just rolled cardboard, and you can just, what it does is it kind of brings the graphite of the pencil together a little bit better. It makes it a little bit smoother. So doing that technique, I'm just going to bring that in there a little bit like that. Use it backwards too. And we'll do this shadow underneath as well. Maybe bring it, extend it a little bit. See, that even helps. Kind of brings some of that graphite and it puts it on the unused paper, the totally white paper. Kind of extends it a little bit out there a little bit more. And that should do it. Now the only other thing that we can do to make this look even more three-dimensional is we can add a little reflection up on top so that it looks like the light is bouncing off, and you can use a white colored pencil for that. And you want to do it kind of in a round motion like this. Now again, you're gonna press down because you want it lighter in the middle. And then as you get outside in this circular area, you ease up on the pressure to this. This is kind of like reverse shading, but you're easing up so that it kind of looks a little lighter as the reflection goes out. Now I want this even more of a reflection. I want the highlight to be even more light. So I've got, and again, I can use this if I'm careful. If I use the clean part of this, I can blend the white with the blending stick. But I want that highlight to be even lighter, so I've got what's called a China marker. I know not everybody has one, but this is like a grease pencil. It's used for they call it China marker, not because it's made in China, but because it works on china, glass, metals, cellophane, wood. So they call it a China marker. And it really does create a nice white highlight. So I'm going to put that right in the middle of my circle here and bring that out and extend it a little bit. And again, I can ease up on a China marker as well. And that looks pretty good. So that is definitely op art. It really looks like this is popping out at us and looks like a sphere with the shadow and the lines. I'll show you one other example that I did with, well, I did this with fifth graders, and this is color version of it. And I did it quite a lot more detail, and we used color. And then on the outside, we used chalk pastels and kind of created a shadow as well. But this is a simpler, straightforward, black and white with some shading, and I think it's a real fun project to do. So have fun with it and learn a little bit about Victor Vasarely and op art. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later.